And we're back with another Walking Man podcast. Hello, my name is Jesse. And with me in the studio is Danny and Jackie. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Fresh off the European vacation. The Lampoon's European vacation. No, I'm sure you guys had a great time, and I'm sure Italy will never be the same after you visit.
Never.
Let's start with why Italy.
Because the Papa was there.
The Papa.
Have to go see Papa.
You're referencing the Pope.
Yes.
The Pope. You had to request a visitation. Let's start with that. How'd that go?
We needed a divine appointment.
The divine appointment. Do you pray to make an appointment with the Pope?
We prayed. We lit candles. We did everything to get in there, and we obviously prayed and talked to God about it. But it was we knew that we had to go to Rome and see the Pope, and we had to give him our book.
Yeah.
The book, Marines Don't Cry. We had to give him that and get his blessing. And so we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we left on was it the 15th?
We left the 15th of December, went to Florence for a few days, then spent most of our time in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And our book was released worldwide on December 21st. So Danny's vision was the following day, on the December 22nd, which is a Wednesday, papal audiences, for us to go visit.
Mm.
So it took months and months of planning for us to get to Rome, especially during COVID and all of
Sure.
the warnings that were happening. But God cleared the way, and we were able to go see the Pope and deliver our book and hand it to his folks.
Well, I remember the last time you guys were in the studio, that was the intention. The intention was always to get the book into the Pope Francis, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
Pope Francis.
Yeah. And get it to his hand, but it wasn't an easy way. When you asked to have an audience with him by the delegates here in the States, they almost said no.
Yeah. What was the exact words that they used, Jackie?
The words that they used were not likely.
Not likely.
Not likely. So we decided, once we put boots on ground, we're going to go in faith, go through all of the motions. We got our papal audience tickets the day before. We showed up at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And there was only a few people in line at that time, but then
Sure.
there was much more about 7:30. And we attended a general papal audience. I thought one of the things that was really cool is that Pope Francis puts a high premium on translation so that words in different languages aren't misinterpreted. He had at least 10 different languages that his message and his blessing was translated into.
Wow.
So different clergy came up there, and he said his message, and then they translated it.
Fascinating.
It was repeated. It was, and I didn't even recognize some of the languages. But English, Spanish, Latin, Italian, I think Farsi, maybe Swedish. What else,
Mexicans,
Danny?
yeah. These guys were from those countries too,
Yes.
and they were in their garments, and they were up. He was up on a big chair, right? El Papa.
The throne.
Yeah, the throne. And there was some. I didn't know that he had just had an operation.
Mm.
He had a hip replacement,
Oh.
and he was 85 years old. He just had a birthday. So we were actually presenting the gift a few days after his birthday, which was great.
Yeah, it's almost like a nice birthday gift for him.
So it was a lot of people there.
Cool.
in that place where he was, where he was at, and where he was speaking to everyone, and he gave a papal apostolic blessing to everyone, and whatever they were carrying, whether it was rosary beads or books or whatever,
Sure.
he was blessing those items. And in the front area there were women and men that were just gotten married, and he gave a special blessing to them. And to the children, he was very drawn to the children. Security was amazingly tight. You couldn't get a fly in there.
Right.
And they had the Swiss Guard. They had undercover. They had covered. They had everybody was there, and they were all surrounding him as he moved or breathed. It was amazing. I said, "Good gosh, this guy is like." to him to get around, he's got to take a whole entourage of people with him.
Yeah, multiple vehicles.
It's amazing. So
Similar to what we see the president,
Yeah.
or in those kind of, or even like a celebrity.
but it's like they were more closer to him, and they were more of them than the president, and they were very protective. Remember, Jackie, what happened when we were waiting by the railing of the pew where we were standing, waiting for him to come by? You want to tell that story?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's one of the Swiss Guard was kind of he was like the point man.
Mm-hmm.
So as the Pope was proceeding down the main aisle,
Mm-hmm.
he was the guy who was in front, just watching and guarding and making sure nobody's trying to break the barriers. So he sees Danny in uniform, and this happened everywhere he went. Anytime a Swiss Guard saw Danny, they immediately saluted him, which was such an honor. And then after he did that, he thanked him for his service and started talking with him, and they had a nice little chat. I got some good pictures of Danny talking with the Swiss Guard right there in the hall of Pope Paul VI. And Danny, I didn't see this, but Danny said, one of the guys, the undercover guy, said, "Hey, you need to keep moving on." So he had to say goodbye and keep moving down the aisle.
Can you imagine? The Swiss Guard stops everything, and he runs over to me, and he starts saying, "Thank you for your service." And and I was in my dress blues,
Right.
And it was just, it was like time had stopped, and so an undercover guy says, "He's coming. He's right behind us. We got to keep moving." So the Swiss guy said, "I'll see you later," and he ran off into the point position that he was at, and as the Pope was approaching us, people were over us. They were standing on chairs over us, draped over us as we were waiting, and I had the book in my hand, and I went to, my objective was to get him the book.
Right.
And there was COVID, all these issues, COVID and challenges, security. I had to go through. My one stretched arm was out with the book in my hand to show him, this is the book. This is for you. And so the security guard, his closest security guard, grabbed it and then continued to pass it on to
another
security guard where he would get it. And
as he saluted the Pope.
He looked at me.
Yeah,
he looked at me. He stared at me.
He looked at you at the salute.
Hey, who are you? What are you doing here in my house? No.
How'd you get an invite?
Yeah. So he looked at me. He stared at me, and I snapped to attention, and then I saluted him, and he was touched. I know he was touched. He got it.
Right.
He got the book, and he got the salute. And obviously, everybody was watching this, and they had the Vatican cameras. Jackie was there with her camera hanging over the people and shooting. So we got some great photographs of that.
Yeah. I may have to edit those in the post of the show, so people can see, because it was very exciting. I lit up when I saw those pictures. I was like, that's cool. Mission accomplished.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was very satisfying.
And Tom Cruise wasn't in that.
No.
But I think that what was really amazing, once it happened, I think that Jackie had friended a couple, a husband and wife, that were from Washington, and they were all excited, and they were taking pictures of us, and we were talking. But Jackie, you had a conversation with them while before it happened.
Yeah, while we were waiting, he turns out he was a Navy veteran, so we started talking about that, and then I asked them what brought them to Rome, and they have a daughter. Her name is Cordelia Joachim, and she has a book called From the Heart. And Cordelia was previously with The Chosen. She was responsible for international growth to get that series out to all the world. It's doing very well. But the mother broke down. She said, "My daughter's stranded here in Rome." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she has a condition called POTS. And I tell people it's very much like chronic fatigue syndrome. And she just doesn't have enough energy to even travel home. But we met with her, prayed with her, talked with her. We really believe that Cordelia has a mission in Rome. And we are now friends with her and her parents through WhatsApp. Great application. We
Yeah.
love WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So surprised we haven't started using it till now.
Mhm.
But it enabled us to talk to a lot of different people back here in the States, as well as now in Italy and other countries, with what we're doing with the book and what God has for us for 2022.
Amen.
The young lady that she's talking about basically had also a friend of hers that she was very helpful in helping her get through her issues. When we prayed with her, actually everybody broke down and cried. She broke down, her mom and dad broke down, and something was released, and it's like strength had come into her spiritually. God's strength, God's favor, and it was beautiful to see that, to experience, to be part of that. But her best friend, or one of her friends, is a journalist. She's an international journalist, and she's also she also served in the Navy, and she was what was it?
Surface warfare officer.
Surface warfare
So
officer.
it's called a SWO in the Navy. So she was a SWO in the Navy, and she really was excited to see Danny because she worked with Marines, offloading them, onloading them, and doing some pretty unique work when she was in the Navy. So now she works in Rome, and that's her place of business, her place of work, and she's with the Epic Times, and they have some big ideas of things that they want to do specifically to help the Swiss Guard.
Gotcha.
They literally want to do a fundraiser to help to provide a new place for the Swiss Guard to live. Whether I don't know if they're going to refurnish the whole thing, but it's very dated, and so they want to take care of them. So another lady who she was talking about is an operatic singer, and she said, "Danny, I got this idea. Why don't you bring somebody from the States and bring yourselves and be in uniform, and you can do something for the Swiss Guard, and it'll be a joint effort between the Swiss Guard and us to do this event, and we'll put it all together, and we'll do it, and you come and we'll raise money for the Swiss Guard." And I said sure, and right away I called a friend of mine, Bruce Foster, and he's going to get somebody from the Phantom of the Opera, and also somebody from the Lion King, and so it's already happening.
It's like Broadway singers.
Broadway comes
Wow.
to Italy,
That's amazing.
comes to the Vatican. That would be cool. And so there's a lot of things happening. We touched a lot of people. I think that after a short while, we started to realize that the reason that we were there was not just for the Pope, but was for the people. You were talking about Italy and how Italy is so beautiful, and Venice and so on, and Florence. And we were in Florence for a couple of days prior to Rome, and they loved us.
Yeah.
And forget this, when we gave them the book, literally gave it to them, didn't charge them, they held it, they wept, they were so touched. They loved it. And it was perfect because it was around Christmas.
Yeah.
And the book was just released worldwide on the 21st of December, and then on the 22nd we gave it to the Pope, and then we started to give it to everybody. There must have been about 40 or 50 people we gave it to in the hotel alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
How many copies did you bring?
we brought a couple of suitcases that had books in all of them.
Wow.
We were loaded down.
I
brother.
bet.
We were loaded. And so it was, the weather was cold. It was in its 50s there. And it rained a couple of days. One of those days was that first day when we went to the Vatican to go present the book to the Pope. I was in dress blues. Jackie was in her evening wear. And, it poured rain. And we had an umbrella, and everybody was in line, and we were waiting to go in. And then there was a dash to the machines that you have to go through to make sure that you're not carrying a M60 or something like that.
Sure.
But we stayed there for 3 weeks. We just got back fairly recently, and we're still working. a lot of things have happened since we've talked last.
Right.
We've done. We did a book signing before we left at the Camp Lejeune at the Marine Corps Exchange there,
Yeah, you mentioned that.
and
That was fabulous.
that was
Yeah.
fabulous. And
Really.
now they've given us a name and an address that they want us to contact regarding. That's a buyer that would buy our books and would be able to distribute it in all Marine Corps and Navy exchanges all over the world.
Oh, fascinating. That's exciting.
That's exciting. And we
Yeah.
also made a phone call when we came back to a friend of mine who's connected with the UN, and we're going to work on getting a book to every ambassador of every country in the United Nations. That's 192 ambassadors.
How many languages is the book printed in right now?
Right now it's English, but it's being translated in Spanish as we're speaking.
Cool.
And
We met at the Orlando VA, met a really wonderful family, and it was really an answer to prayer, because we had been thinking, how are we going to get our book translated into Spanish? Any language, but Spanish particularly, because that's what we think we're going to expand to in 2022. And lo and behold, this wonderful lady who was caring for her parents said, I do translations.
Oh.
You know, I used to do it for my church. And
Oh.
so she volunteered, and she's almost finished with the first chapter.
Is that right?
And we may have this book in Spanish by the summer and ready to distribute
Well,
in the fall.
the Latin-speaking, Spanish-speaking countries, it's an overwhelming population.
Yes.
You know, about equal to English. Of course, the real languages are, you know, Mandarin. You know, there's a lot of Mandarin speaking. You know, so if you look at the world in its entirety as far as what languages are being spoken, you know, India has another big population. Although, since the English colonized India a long time ago, there's a lot of English-speaking Indian, but I know their kind of native dialect. You know, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, that's 1 billion people in India. You know, so
Wow.
there's a couple of languages that you don't want to ignore. French, maybe not so much. Spanish, definitely.
Definitely Spanish.
Russia, I think, is another big, you know, because that's just a big commercial center. You know, there's a lot of Russians, and but yeah, India, and then Mandarin Chinese. You know, other than that, you know, those are the 4 big ones.
yeah,
Maybe Portuguese, maybe French. You know, but yeah, Spanish is. I mean, that's a lot of countries. You know, there's a lot of countries. You know, most South America, Central America, of course, Spain, lots of other territories. You know, Cuba and a lot of different islands. So that's a good move. You know, to get Spanish is definitely huge, especially for North America. But then, you know, but if you're going overseas, you know, in time, you know, get those books translated in other languages. But that's all very exciting. And of course, you know, let's be honest. You know, you guys walk with God. There's nothing that's out of that realm. You know, if you pray on it, it's going to happen. I firmly believe that. You guys are testimony to that. With 25 years of Global Walk and Danny Garcia Walking Man, you know, it's very exciting. You guys have celebrated 25 years of since your first walk in '96.
that's
Yes,
right.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So December 7th, which is Pearl Harbor Day,
Yeah.
we were at the Brevard Veteran Memorial Center for that. But that's how we celebrated Danny's 25th anniversary of Walking and Praying for Children and World Peace, is to be at the Brevard Veteran Memorial Center to honor the World War II veterans who are still with us. And we were there December 7th, 25 years. And 80 years for Pearl Harbor, 25 years for us. So we intend to celebrate that 25-year anniversary for all of 2022
Right.
going forward. And letting people know that we're here and what we're doing to still honor veterans, first responders, and their families. That umbrella is still a good umbrella, and it continues to grow internationally, as Danny mentioned, with the Swiss Guard. You know, when we were in Rome, we kept running into people who were looking, and you could tell that they wanted to speak or say something. And then we would ask them. It turns out that they're Italian Army veterans, veterans the Italians who worked with Marines in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And the stories
Yeah.
just kept going on. And this is
Right.
mostly their police force now, or Carabinieri, if I'm saying that right.
Right.
But we understand how important it is to honor veterans, first responders, and their families. And we're going to continue to do that in 2022.
Yes. Amen.
They were very bold too in approaching us and saying, "Can I take a picture with you in uniform?" And I said, "Yeah." Whether we were in a restaurant or whether we were out in the street or whether we were in the
I mean, not for nothing. You get respect here in the States. We're into blues.
yeah
But you must be like something out of a picture book
yeah
or a movie
yeah
when you're, abroad. And I mean, unless people are stationed around, one of our,
Embassy.
bases or embassies, they don't see this. It's not regular. I mean, imagine a colonel or an admiral of the Italian Navy wearing his dress blues walking down the streets of Melbourne.
yeah
It would be something super uncanny. Like,
Well,
why?
that was,
That's
that
a
was
good idea.
interesting
Yeah.
when we, again, this is again in the hall of Pope Paul the Sixth. So we're leaving,
Right.
pretty much everyone's leaving, and we were exiting, and there was another Swiss guard. And so he stopped to talk to Danny, and same thing. He goes, "Well, I've never seen a Marine Corps uniform in person.
Right.
They've seen pictures of it, just like you mentioned."
Right.
And so he was very enamored, and we talked with this young man, and another couple came up and wanted to ask a question, and he just looked at them and said, "Pronto, pronto, move on. I can't talk to you now." So we got some good pictures with the
Yeah.
Swiss Guard, and we're really excited about doing this concert to help them. One of the things that Bree Dale, Dail, the correspondent, she said another reason why it's important is because the Swiss Guard for centuries could not have families. Now there's a change where they're allowed to marry and have families. So now this whole idea of having barracks and quarters that are livable for families is more important. And we're asking God and people to help us to help them.
Amazing.
yeah
So you go over there on one mission and you come back with another mission.
at least
At least one. Yeah.
at least one. It's
I mean, not for nothing, but those are unsung heroes. You don't hear about the Swiss Guard.
that's
I mean,
right.
because it's a very. I mean,
Closed.
their only jurisdiction is Vatican City.
And
So it's not
very
like
elite, very elite. I was reading about them. They're known as the smallest army.
right.
And I thought it, like you were talking earlier about history. When we were walking around in Vatican City, one of the places we stopped, and the lady said, this house, this flat is older than the United States. The wall that you're looking at was built in 1217. And when we crossed in to go see the Swiss Guard, we actually crossed an international border going from
Right.
Rome into Vatican City and
Yeah.
into the fort.
It's a
where the
country,
Swiss
country
Guard-
within a country.
Yeah.
It's I thought it was amazing. I took as many pictures as I could, and of course now that I'm back, I'm like, wow, I wish I would have taken more pictures.
Right. Yeah, you can't get enough, especially when you're inside some of those restricted areas.
Oh yeah.
Because it's one thing to get into the city, but it's another thing to get into any of the buildings and get that access that you had. So absolutely, man, it sounds like the next book is already writing itself. So it's pretty
funny.
exciting.
It's funny you said that. That's
Yeah.
true. It's writing itself. And one of the next trips that we're looking at, I just got an invite to go to Honduras and meet with the president of Honduras.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And while I was talking to the pastor, I was saying, you know what? What if we can do an Operation Blessing in and for Honduras?
Mhm.
And just ask the president if he wants God to bless Honduras.
Right.
And we'll go there and we'll get the whole country involved.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're going to do is I'd like to present the book to the Queen Elizabeth
Oh,
and Prince Charles. That means going to England
yes.
and meet the Queen. And I've met her before once, and
Yeah.
I made a presentation to Prince Charles.
Mhm.
And so I want to do that because I think it's supposed to. I think I'm supposed to.
Mhm.
And God says, at all costs, get the book out. So one of the things that we want to do is get the book out to give it to everybody free if we can do that. And
Right.
that's what we're working on now. And prisons, we have access to 2,700 prisons to get the book in. All we need is the finances to pay for the cost of the book. And we're not looking to, I'll be honest, we're not looking to make any money for ourselves. We want to be a blessing to everybody. And because that book was inspired by God. It really was. It really, everything I've done, he knew about it. And I wrote it, whether I knew him or I didn't know him. I did that. And I looked back on it and I said, I never knew this was going to happen. Not till later on I knew that God wanted me to write a book, do a walk, do a concert, da-da-da. And that's what's happening right now. It's all unfolding.
Right.
And it's all for you, Jesse. In fact, Jesse, on that note,
yes,
on behalf of Jackie and I and God and all those people who were part of writing this book and making it happen, all of our sponsors who put in money and all of that stuff, and in fact even sponsored our trip, we would like you to have our book called Marines Don't Cry. Would you accept that from us?
of course, with pride and humility, because this is the same book that the Pope has. So of course this is
very true.
You're blessed.
Yes. No, but thank you so much, and of course for those listening, if you haven't gotten your copy, definitely find them where books are sold. Right?
Yeah, they're all over. Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. What else?
Amazon.
Amazon. A lot of it was kind of interesting. People when we were in Italy, people were sending me pictures saying, "I've got my book," and "I've got my." So they some of them who ordered did get their book. I just got another notification. Someone ordered their books coming in through Barnes and Noble. So it's pretty exciting. And who knows? We might be in a city near you.
And if they get the book, can they write a review? Is it all right? Can we ask them for that? Can you do a review on the book to let us know that you liked it?
Well, that's especially important because people shop, especially with Amazon. I do. I always look for the ratings. Because there's multiple products, right? If I'm looking for a toothbrush, for instance, there's going to be hundreds of instances of different toothbrushes. But which one has the best ratings is typically how I purchase. If I see 5,000 people give 5 stars, why wouldn't I get that toothbrush?
Exactly.
So it goes along with those kind of things. So the reviews do help. People look at reviews and shop by reviews. You can even search by 5-star, 4-star, different ratings. So it is important, and certainly I don't think it's a horrible call to action. I mean, it only takes minutes, for somebody to click 5 stars and put in "love the book." You don't have to be elaborate. You don't have to write a story about a story, but certainly, letting other people know who are shopping, that you enjoyed it is crucial. And
Thank you.
people shop by reviews nowadays. It's a very review centric kind of shopping, culture that we're in now. Just like you would walk into a store because your friend told you have to get this, product or service. Same kind of thing. It's that endorsement. And so if you're listening and watching this podcast, then certainly grab your copy and hit that 5-star rating, because let's be honest, all the important people are going to have this book, so you better too, right? And I think that's a good ambition, to go to the English Parliament or wherever the Queen is, Buckingham Palace, and get it to those guys as well.
Yeah. And then some of the places that you've mentioned, like India, we're going to go.
Yeah.
We want to go on a world tour, book signing tour.
Yeah.
We do want to do that, and that's so obviously you need dinero,
Yes.
the Spanish money. But I'm serious too about that in the sense that I think he was a great guy, and I think he did a lot of things, and he walked and I walked, so and he prayed and I prayed. So I think I would like to do that. There are some places especially that I would like to do a walk in.
Yeah.
And
well, I think if we were to start that tour, starting like Morocco and go across northern Africa into the Middle East, Pakistan's right there, with India, and I'm certain there's, there's Christian outposts all throughout, Arab, countries and stuff like that. So it's not popular, The Muslim Christian thing is real,
Yeah.
and some of those countries they're very fundamentalist. But I think if we can get through there, because there's also a lot of bases
Yeah.
through Yemen and some of these other places, Djibouti and so
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And so I think if we kind of go through there, visit some of the bases where Marines are stationed and other service members, and then that'll get us to bridge over to India. And then of course, once we're in India, then the rest of Asia is opened up.
Jesse, will you be our tour guide and join us?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll have the loudspeaker on the back of the pickup all throughout Northern Africa. We'll go through Tunisia and Libya and all these countries, Egypt. We get a picture in front of the pyramids on a camelback. We'll do all that.
See, that's the world tour.
Yeah,
That's the signing of the book and
Yeah.
the world tour and sharing it in different countries and really doing something that brings people together. That's the vision. You said it.
yeah,
And so we pray and
Mhm.
we want to ask everybody to pray for us in their own way.
yeah.
But we really want to do something that touches the hearts of people and bring us together, not divide
Yes.
us, not separate us.
Yeah, yeah. And I think some of those holy centers, walking the same walk that Moses led.
Yeah.
His people, through the
Sinai.
Mount Sinai. So we have all these ancient places, as old as dirt. Some of these places been around, and I think that would be. I think that's what the book deserves. I think that's what Walking Man needs to do. So
Yeah.
global walk. You got to live up to that name. We got to be global. We got to take the show on the road. Never stop.
I think, and I'm going to be 77
Never.
next March. So we got to do it. So
Yes.
everybody get ready now. Get your gear, get ready, start praying that we can go on this adventure. What-
Well, and I think that's a great way to close. Ask for those call to actions. Buy the book, leave a rating, donate, give, however you can, whatever that looks like, dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever that looks like, anywhere in between, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, if you have a capacity to connect us with a private, charter or any kind of, plane or train or vehicle in any of these remote places, help us out, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Well, there are people, trust me, who have tons of planes, and they, the pilots are just standing by. So you might as well, use that plane for good,
Yeah.
And same thing with, and this goes for anything. I mean, if you have a camel in Egypt, let us know. We'll hop on that camel. we need to traverse the Sahara. Let's go. So there's really no small way to engage and become part of this movement. So.
And I
Thanks,
want to do
Jesse.
Antarctica, Jesse. I
Oh.
want to do Antarctica
trust me.
December.
That's
This
your last continent.
That's the
That's
last
it.
continent.
That's the only place you haven't been.
That's right. I got to do it, Jesse.
You got to do it.
And
100%.
the penguins are waiting for me.
They are, and they're on the edge of that iceberg, and apparently icebergs are melting at a
Yes,
ferocious
that's
rate.
right.
So we have to save the penguins, and we can't let them just melt into obscurity. We all kidding aside, that's 100% something that 22 should bring us.
Yeah.
And we're going to pray hard on that. We're going to ask, of course, the divine to intervene there, and we're also going to ask, our God here on earth, other human beings, God in flesh, who are here presently with us, who can bless us.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of money in this world. We saw some of the richest people get even richer, in the last couple of years. So, the Elon Musk, the Bezos, all these guys, if you're listening, hey, we have something to help with your write-off, because they spend millions and millions on write-offs, right? I mean, you can't have money without having a foundation for that money to go.
That's right.
So if you need a place to spend that money to avoid the tax liability, consider Global Walk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Well,
Very nice.
I mean, trust me, if I had the means, if I had anything more that I could give, I would give.
You've been
and
a great help to us.
well, listen, you're always welcome at Space Coast Podcast, and on behalf of all of us at Space Coast Podcast, thank you for what you do, and may God bless you in your mission, And thanks for including us in it, because we feel blessed and honored
You're
to
welcome.
be
And
with you
God
guys.
bless everybody out there in podcast land. We love you, and keep us in your prayers, because we're always looking for God to lead us and guide us in the right directions that He wants us to go.
Amen.
It's really all about Him.
Yeah.
Thank you again. God bless you, Jesse.
Of course. And where can people find you if they're looking? I know you guys are LinkedIn, and you have Facebook.
Well,
Correct?
we have Facebook, Danny
Yeah.
Garcia Walking Man. We have LinkedIn, Danny Garcia Walking Man. We have our nonprofit website, which is www.globalwalk.cc. And then the book website is www.marinesdon'tcry.com. And I think we also have did I already say Instagram? Yeah, we're trying to do more with Instagram.
Good.
Also, it's Danny G_Walking Man.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we're trying to get into that social media thing.
Well, that's a place for all these cool pictures from the Vatican.
Oh, yes.
You know, so definitely post. You know, I mean, you can't post enough.
Yes.
You know, so overpost, and for all those listening, do give us a follow, give us a share, tell your friends about us, buy the book, and follow us on our journey.
Yeah, and we
Get
got
involved.
and we're working on the second book now, by the way.
Cool. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you guys here. Thank you once again for sharing your story, and we're gonna keep you coming back so we could hear all of these updates, because you know, fundraising in Italy for the Swiss Guard is not a small feat. So we're gonna try to employ a lot of people. You know, some of our listeners. Again, if you know somebody, if you know how to help, please do so. You know, sometimes you don't have to always donate. Sometimes you just got to do, right?
Yeah.
Do or donate, as they say in the fundraising and volunteer world. You know. Yeah.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
I need a lot of pizza.
Grazie.
A lot of pizza.
Grazie.
Until next time, you've been listening to the Walking Man podcast, and I am your unofficial producer and unofficial host, Jesse. Again, joining me in the studio is Danny and Jackie Garcia. Thank you both.
Thank
Until
you.
next time, take care, guys.